tonight on 31 Law Line, we've got something a little special. Normally we have attorneys on and we talk and we take your questions. And tonight we've actually got a survivor story, and it's really going to be amazing.
Sharon, we usually talk about how we recover for our clients, how the injury happened, who's liable, and things like that. Medical malpractice, car wrecks, 18-wheeler wrecks. We had a client in 2007 who was injured in an 18-wheeler wreck or a big truck wreck, and Sharon was decapitated and amazingly survived the decapitation. I know it sounds crazy.
I know, and internal decapitation. We're not going to have any gross pictures or things that if you've got a weak stomach like I do, you're going to be just fine. This is a miracle story, and you're going to feel better for having seen it.
We're going to talk about how he was injured, how he got through it, and what the survivors of injuries like these, what they have to go through. How do they keep the lights on during all the during all this time of trouble?
It's going to be very interesting. Stay with us. 31 Law Line, live right after the news. Welcome to the first call-in show in the Tennessee Valley, dedicated to answering your legal questions.
31 Law Line is on the air.
Good evening. Welcome to Way 31 Law Line. I'm Sharon Doviat. Tonight we've got a special story for you, a survivor story. It's really a miracle of someone who's been through a terrible accident and has survived and has got amazing range of motion, able to do pretty much all the things he was able to do before, but it was in a terrible accident. And if you've ever had a family member that went through something like this, the financial situation, the medical problems, tonight we've got something that you need to hear about. So stick with us. We've got a survivor story tonight.
Sharon, it's just, the injury or accident or whatever happens, that's one part of the case. Then, the client is suffered these injuries, loss of a job or unable to carry on with the job. How do you keep the lights on? How do you keep groceries in the cabinets? How do you keep your mortgage paid? And how do you deal with your medical issues at the same time? This extraordinary. We've been handling 18-wheeler wrecks and accidents for over 20 years at our law firm, and they're with heavier trucks, higher velocity, more momentum, a lot of serious injuries. And this is one that, in all likelihood, the passenger, the driver of the vehicle should have perished. To the doctors, there was a complete decapitation. Doctors, I believe the stats are 97% of the people perish from this type of decapitation. The other 3% are paralyzed from the neck down. Amazingly, Michael Sanderson survived this wreck and is here tonight to talk to us about what happened to him in 2007. Michael and Mary Scott Hunter with our law firms here with us.
Thank you.
I appreciate y'all coming on, Michael.
Thank you for having me.
First off, just happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
You're a miracle. This is amazing. So less than 1% of people who have an accident like you have got function, and you're able to do pretty much everything.
Yes, ma'am. Thank God.
How bad was the accident that you were in?
It was pretty bad. 97% of people in the whole world don't make it through it.
And you were unconscious for a long period of time?
28 days. Michael
has written a book, and I think we've got a picture of that. On the 28th day, my eyes opened. Yes. 28 days unconscious. Yes. We were talking about the medical part of this is horrendous, but the financial part of this, in addition to that, you come out of it and you have nothing.
Well, you're absolutely right. This is a tough situation because he survived an accident that he shouldn't have survived. And then we're looking at a situation where, and the reason why I'm here is because I represented Michael for his disability, for the disability aspects of his case. And he came to see us, and we looked at the workers' compensation aspects of the case and the Social Security disability aspects to make sure that we were accessing all the places where we could get money to take care of him, because to say that he can do everything isn't actually true.
Okay.
There's quite a bit that Michael can't do. He is very limited. He has very limited range of motion. Well, you can tell her about that.
97% neck movement I lost. So I only had 3%.
So you're pretty much fixed in the position you're in. For you to turn, you've got to turn your whole body.
Right. My head
so Michael, they told you it was complete decapitation where it's your C1 vertebra actually separated from your skull. Is that correct? Do we have a graphic of his x-rays?
I think that we've got his... So what did they wind up putting in?
If you see, Sharon, you'll see there's, from that x-ray, it's all the way from C1 at the top. Dr. John Johnson with Spine and Neuro, one of the best surgeons, in this area of the country, saved this man's life. And basically, he fused all those vertebrae together while attaching the spinal column of the vertebra back to the skull. And so that fixation you see in there, will in all probability never come out. And he is fused, for lack of a better word, to where his mobility, both to the left, the right, up, and down, is maybe less than 3% in either direction. Is that right, Michael?
That's right. That's right.
Now, when you first woke up, what did the doctors tell you, Michael?
Well, when I woke up, I was in pain, and I just listened to what my family had to say, and they just told me that I had been in an accident. And I was worried about did anybody get hurt, because that big truck with all that weight,
right?
You know, but I was the only one that got hurt. But you know, they just told me I'd been in a bad accident.
And we have a shot of a picture of that accident, a black and white picture of that accident. Right. So they had to cut you out of there.
Yes, ma'am. And
get you to the hospital, and 28 days later, you came to realize what was going on.
Yes, ma'am.
Now you've had, is it 2 surgeries?
Yeah, 2 surgeries.
Okay.
Yeah, I was infected. The first surgery got infected with, you know, I had broken bones and metal left in there. Wow. And they got infected, and then I got to Birmingham, and they had to cut me back open. And
goodness gracious. Well, how has your legal experience been? What was, you know, when you're out there, I take it you've never been through anything like this before.
Right.
You know, how did you go about trying to sort out, you know, how you were going to keep the lights on, how you were going, you know, how you were going to make a claim? I'm sure you didn't know about if there was a claim to even make.
Yeah, I got a strong family, and they kept me together. As far as my bills and stuff, they kept me on point with that. Okay. So I didn't have to really too much worry about that, because they kept me on point with that.
You know, and Mary Scott, a lot of times our clients, you know, when you're in an accident or a wreck or a workers' compensation injury, you know, a lot of times we refer to it as the black hole of litigation. It's, you know, after the injury, the loved one is unable to work, the money's not coming in for the wage, right, but you still got the bills. So right, a lot of times there's a long period from between the wreck, any injury, and any recovery. So, you know, if you don't have family, you know, to help you like Michael did, if there's no short-term disability policy, you know, I'm sure a lot of your clients are destitute as well while they're waiting for the settlement. How do you guys, or how do we deal with it, Mary?
Well, in workers' compensation, we can deal with it by accessing the short-term benefits of workers' compensation, and if those are there, that can help a great deal. If they're not, it can be very, very challenging. Social Security disability is another place where we can look for disability coverage for a person who's been badly injured or becomes terribly sick. It can be very time-consuming to access Social Security disability, so those are things we also have to be mindful of.
So, Michael, did you actually have to go to court